Do we want to do an introduction first, and then Mr. Johnson, do you want to start?
Sure. Are you going to do introductions?
Yeah, I'll start. I'm Miss Wood. I'm the college advisor.
I'm Mrs. Smith, one of the counselors here and counseling director. I have students with last names W through Z.
I'm Kristen Frith. I'm one of the counselors here as well. I have last names A through GO.
Hi, I'm Elise Diaz-Norman. I'm one of the counselors here as well, and I have students GR to MC, and I also have all students who have ESL services.
And we also have Miss Rudd, counselor for students with last names ME through V, and she just could not join us this afternoon.
And I'm Mr. Johnson, and I'm the person doing this presentation. I am the career coach. I work with Germanna, and I can help you with Germanna, but I can also help you with other community college issues, financial aid issues, as well as four-year schools. You can see on the opening screen, we're going to talk about community college, the workforce part of community college, and a little bit about work. There is a link to the senior guidebook at the bottom of the page, and that's something that provides a lot of useful information that Ms. Wood put together. So I would refer that to you if you have additional questions, although we'll take some questions at the end if you have any. Okay. So we'll go ahead and, yes. So the starting point is the application process. When we did the four-year school presentation, there was a lot of mention about people being stressed. Community colleges can remove some of that stress. We have a free application. We accept really everybody who graduates from high school. And if you choose to go to Germanna Community College, I can actually help you sign up for classes so that you will graduate with your schedule. So all of that can be taken care of before you even graduate from high school. The application is available online, and again, it's free. Some of you may have already filled that out if you've considered dual enrollment classes. If you have not, you can complete it at any time. I would recommend, if you know your social security number, that you enter it when you complete the application. It's much easier to do at that point. You may be asked about high school grades as you apply. It's a new addition. I will also talk about how we do placement. The next step that is not part of the application but is incredibly important is that you complete a free application for federal student aid. That will open October 1st. And it is so important that you start it early so that if there are any problems, difficulties, or questions, we can deal with those before we run up against deadlines. Germanna does have a program called the Germanna Guarantee, where students with exceptional need, we cover the additional cost of college. So it is possible to go to Germanna for free if you have exceptional need, but we do typically require that you attempt a FAFSA. Okay? As I mentioned, I'll be able to work with you to select a program and determine classes. I can actually register you for your summer or fall classes. I will not, however, pay for your classes. Typically, the first payment is due in July, and the advantage of doing the FAFSA early is there are students that I worked with in April who had already been awarded their aid. So we are able to actually know what the cost will be as we're signing up for classes. In addition, it's not mentioned on here, but there are Germanna-specific scholarships that are available for people going to Germanna, and included in those are scholarships that are limited to people who graduate from one of the Culpeper high schools. So you have a really good chance of completing or of getting a scholarship if you complete the application. And then there is a new student orientation. We have been doing those in person, but of course now they're online. Okay. Go ahead and do the next slide. Okay. Placement. Placement's a little bit different at Germanna. Right now, what we're using is your high school GPA and your highest level of math that you attempted. We will also take SAT or ACT scores, or if you have taken the Virginia placement test in the recent past, we're able to use that. We do what I would call super scoring, so that if you've taken the VPT, but you have a better SAT score, we'll use whatever is better. If your high school GPA is better, we'll use that. And we look at it in terms of math and English. There's been no decision at this time about reopening the Virginia placement test, but that may be an option later in the spring. Okay. So what do we have at Germanna? We offer associate's degrees, certificates, career studies certificates, and something we'll talk about briefly that are called workforce programs. There's well over 30 programs. We continue to add programs, and if programs aren't effective, sometimes we drop the programs. So we continue to expand. I just saw today that through workforce, we hope in the spring to be adding a EMT to paramedic path. So we're always making changes. These are the transfer programs. There's an Associate of Arts and Sciences, and they are tailored a little bit subject specific: business administration, 2 education degrees, a general studies, a general studies that is fairly specific or targeted to a particular program, 1 targeted to 4-year liberal arts that essentially includes 4 semesters of language, science degrees, and then Associate of Science degrees that are in our 2 engineering programs. Guaranteed admission. If you graduate with an associate's degree, you're eligible to participate in what are called the guaranteed admission agreements. Each school sets their own criteria. It generally involves a minimum GPA, but it might require specific courses. If you are looking to transfer to a 4-year school and use the guaranteed admission agreements, I can help you look at what is currently in place. The GPA requirements, and these are Germanna or community college GPA requirements, range from a 2.0 up to about a 3.5. And again, some schools require specific coursework. Now, if you do not qualify for the guaranteed admission agreement, you can still apply to transfer to a 4-year school, or if you decide you want to transfer before completing your associate's degree, you could choose to do that. In general, it's always easier to transfer. There's less competition than there is to apply as a freshman. Okay. The applied science degrees you'll see in business management, dental hygiene, early childhood development, the IT programs, industrial maintenance, and the RN degree in nursing are not designed as a full transfer. Most of the courses will transfer, and if you know you want to do one of these programs and are planning to transfer, we can work with you to make sure you're selecting the right courses. What is not included in a lot of these programs is an additional math, potentially some history or elective credit, maybe a communications credit. So they are more career specific, but we are able to make them work so that all of the, or most of the courses will transfer. An example would be the RN program. You are able to graduate with an RN, but if you wanted to go on to get your bachelor's degree, there's a BSN program, and that was listed back in the transfer degrees, and that adds the additional courses. Okay. Certificates are often, again, designed for work. Some of the courses, in the cases of general education, really all of the courses are able to transfer. Some are designed to stack on other degrees like the LPN, which is a licensed practical nurse, that you could in fact work with that degree, or you could apply to move on to the RN and then the BSN. The career studies certificates are typically shorter. They are again designed to get you out into the workforce, but they also often stack one on another. So for example, the nurse aide, the healthcare technician, can lead to the LPN, to the RN, to the BSN. Sometimes they're really brief. The pharmacy technician program is currently 18 credits, so that you could complete that program and work in a pharmacy after only 5 classes. We also have the automotive programs. Those are year-long programs, and if you take both of those together, you get credit towards what is known as the ASE certifications. So let's talk money. One of the advantages of Germana is cost. The average tuition and fees for a Germana associate degree is roughly $10,000, okay? And that would be for 2 years, or about $5,000 per year. If you've participated in dual enrollment classes, you have some of your coursework out of the way, and that reduces your cost even more. Average tuition for fees, housing, and meal plan at a Virginia public runs around $50,000, and in the case of some schools, it actually approaches $30,000 to $35,000, and so you can save anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 off over the course of 2 years. Okay. So workforce is a different side of Germana. These are programs that are designed, just as we mentioned, to get you out into the workforce. Workforce also has a different application process, but you will be filling out a Germana application anyway. Programs are available through Workforce at the Daniel Center in Culpeper. There's also a FredCat that is in Central Park in Fredericksburg, and there are other sites. Not all programs are available at all of the sites. And again, that is something, if you're interested, I can help you with. Workforce programs are usually designed to be quick, work-focused programs, often less than a year in length, and select workforce programs can be covered by state funding and financial aid. There's a thing called Fast Forward, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. Fast Forward is a special program funded by the state of Virginia where you pay 1/3, the college covers 1/3 of the cost, and the state pays for 1/3 of the cost. There is an additional program called FANTIC, again, not FAFSA, but FANTIC. It uses the same information as the FAFSA and can actually help cover that 1/3 cost. So it is possible, depending on need, to take these programs and actually do them for free. Okay. Go ahead and move to the next. There's additional Fast Forward programs, and again, we change these. They get added and deleted every year. Okay, and there's yet a 3rd slide for Fast Forward. Those Fast Forward programs, again, are determined by the state, and they are designed based on surveys so that they feel confident that jobs are available in our service area with Fast Forward. Okay. Next. A different side of Germana and the workforce are apprenticeship programs. The apprenticeship programs are something that we call Earn While You Learn. There is coursework, but most of the apprenticeship work is done with on-the-job training with someone who is doing this work. So if you chose electrical, you would be working with an electrical contractor, carpentry, someone who works in carpentry, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning with a company that does that. They last different lengths of time depending upon the apprenticeship. And generally, as you work each year, your salary goes up. It is not unusual for people to do an apprenticeship with the company and be offered a job with that company upon completion. We also have computer and technology programs. You see those listed. These are a little bit different. They actually lead to certificates. These certificates are industry recognized, and so industries use them in place of the degrees to do hiring. Now, some of these can be transferable and recognized for credit, but again, their design is that you take these courses and pass these courses and then move into the workforce. Again, here are those that are in the industry and construction programs. They work on the same type of criteria where you are gaining certifications. Some of these overlap with the apprenticeship programs. Some of these do require some prior coursework. But again, what they're designed to do is get you quickly out into the workforce. Some of these are offered through Germana, but they are also sometimes offered through someone who we contract with. For example, in the case of the CDL, it is a private company that we work through. Okay. And again, training and certifications that are available. Okay. So if you're interested in apprenticeships, there are other apprenticeships offered. There is a site that's run by the Department of Labor and Industry in Virginia. It's shortened to DOLE, and they have lists of actual internships or internship sites that have been approved, and you can sort by county. That would expand the range of internships, and sometimes it would allow you to do apprenticeships in fields that we are not offering at Germana. If you're really interested in apprenticeships, there is the Apprentice School. It's a special program that's down in Newport News. It is more like a traditional college in that it combines coursework. They do have sports teams. It has a formal application process, and it's really designed to meet the needs at the Newport News shipyard. It is much more competitive than traditional workforce programs, and if you are interested in that, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. They do, if you're interested in this type of things, because they're more like a traditional college, they even have sports teams. Other options. Not all community colleges offer the same courses and programs. So if there's something you're interested in and you'd like to target a community college, I can help you see what's available. The typical ones that I refer people to would be culinary that are available at both Piedmont and J. Sargent Reynolds. People who are interested in working with autos, Northern Virginia Community College offers a diesel and an auto body program that we don't offer. And then radiology is often of interest to students. Those are 2-year programs, and they're offered at both Piedmont and Northern Virginia. Sometimes these courses require some preliminary coursework before applying. If that's offered at Germana or again online, you can take those at a different school prior to applying to the programs. I know particularly in the case of radiology, we've had students who are interested in those programs do their coursework at Germanna in order to apply to the program and then complete the programs at Piedmont typically, or Northern Virginia. If you're, oh, go back, thank you. If you're interested in a more traditional college experience, but you want community college prices, there is Richard Bland College in Petersburg. It is a 2-year residential college. However, it is priced at the community college level. So since it's residential, yes, it has residence halls, it has sports teams, it has, as does Germanna, clubs and organizations, but because there's a campus, it's a much more traditional experience, but it is not at the same price as, say, a residential 4-year. It is considered a part of the William and Mary system, so they do get some preference in terms of transferring to William and Mary. There are some area technical centers. Right now, the closest that's open to the general population that I know of is in Charlottesville. They have in the past offered cosmetology, although they are not this semester, and they do often take students who, if they have space in the programs, who are from outside the Charlottesville area. If you're looking at things like cosmetology or nursing or radiography, there are private options that exist. They do often cost more, sometimes significantly more, but they may be quicker. They may move faster than the community college. If you're interested in those programs, I'd be glad to meet with you to look at the cost comparison between the private colleges and if there's a comparable community college program available. I recommend you check the debt level of recent graduates to see if that's a good fit for you. The other thing that we have had happen with private sector is sometimes when you sign up, you are committing for the full program and are expected to pay the full tuition even if you drop the program. Okay, so work. Most jobs require a completed application or a resume, and you may well have worked on those through your classes. There's information and templates available if you haven't through what's known as the Virginia Wizard. Okay, you'll see, and I see now a lot of stores that advertise kind of walk-in hours for applicants. Chain stores will often have an online process. They used to do job fairs. Those are probably moving virtually now. If we move beyond our current situation, I expect to see those pick up. To the next, okay. So I'm at Eastern View on Monday and Friday for in-person appointments, and I am happy to also do Google Meet or Zoom or Skype. You'll see my 2 email addresses at the bottom, or my 2 work email addresses, and you can contact me through either of those addresses if you'd like to set something up. Okay. So Erica, are we taking questions through the chat, or is there a way that we're doing that?
Yep, just message me in the chat if you have any questions and I'll read them out loud.
Okay.
For answers. So if you have any questions, go ahead and send them on through. Yeah. Also, Mr. Johnson talked about Richard Bland College, the 2-year junior college. They are actually doing a Zoom meet with Eastern View students next Wednesday. So if you're interested, they're on the college representative visits on Naviance. So if you need to learn how to sign up for those, check out my YouTube channel in the senior guidebook. We can, and if you need more help, you can ask.
And typically the cost savings is in the coursework because they charge community college prices for the tuition and fees. It is going to be more expensive than a community college because of the residential component, but it's a great program.
And if I could jump in real quick, I just want to mention that in the senior guidebook, there is a transcript release form that does need to be handed in by every senior. So whether planning on 4-year school, 2-year school, even work, military, we'd like to have one on file for every senior. So that's on page 5 of the senior guidebook. When you have a chance to look at that, you want to print that form, sign student and parent signs, and then you want to go ahead and either hand in person to your counselor, or you can email that back to your counselor. That allows us to release your transcripts as needed, whether you're going to applying to a community college and we need to submit your transcript, or again, some employers want to see proof of completion of graduation and whatnot. So we would like to have that on file just so we have it in case we need it. We're not going to release anything without you then requesting us to do so, but then once we have it on file, we can move forward with the request.
I had a question come in. If the student decides to go to Germanna, what does the application process look like if they are already taking dual enrollment classes?
Okay, so you are already accepted to Germanna. All that we would have to do is update information if needed for placement, and we actually would need to change you out of dual enrollment and into a program of study to make you eligible for financial aid. If we're still up and running in person, that's a really simple process and only takes a few minutes. The other thing that I would say is if you're thinking about Germanna as well as 4-year schools and completing the FAFSA, you can submit up to 10 schools at a time. You can actually then go back in and submit another 10. So technically, if you wanted to do that, what would that be? 430 plus times. You could submit a FAFSA to every 4-year college in the country if you wanted to. There is no cost. You just have to log back in. If you're trying to consider and leave your options open, because strange things do happen and plans do change, submit your FAFSA everywhere that you would like to be considered. Once they have your FAFSA, they can go ahead and process aid. They can let you know about problems and they can be resolved. So it's really, really important to get your FAFSA in the hands of everyone that you think you might be interested in. It is not an application to a school. So you are not making a commitment when you make your FAFSA available to a school.
Just really quickly before we go, wanted to point out the community college and trade school section of the senior guidebook does have a checklist for you in terms of what you need to do. And then it also has the link to the Germanna application and different QR codes for the websites for other community colleges. So check those out. We just had another question come in. Do all or most credits transfer over to a university out of state after graduating from Germanna?
And the definitive answer to that is that depends. There are schools that have already evaluated Virginia Community College credit, and those are already in place. So I have worked with students interested in going to New York State, Florida, South Carolina, and they already have evaluated credits, and I can tell you how they will transfer. Most of the surrounding states, West Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina, Tennessee, have already seen Virginia Community College credits and have determined how they will transfer. If you are looking to go to a university that does not have in place recognition of the Virginia Community College credits, what you need to do is save copies of your syllabus. And what they will do is look at your syllabus, the 4-year school, and they will determine how they want to transfer that credit. Every 4-year college can determine how they want to transfer credit. In general, if they can find an equivalent course, and most community college courses are pretty standard courses, they will accept them, and they'll accept them for transfer credit. In the case of the guaranteed admission, the advantage of that is they guarantee how they will accept that credit. And I know that sounds similar, but there is a difference. And again, I'm more than happy to talk about how that happens.
Another question, is your NOVA application supposed to already have your transcript, and if taken SAT score on it when we apply? You can add community colleges to Naviance just like you do, like you would if you were applying to a 4-year. And if you need help with that, that is also in the senior guidebook, instructions how to do that. So you can add NOVA on there. And I believe you should have unofficial SAT scores on your transcript, if I'm not mistaken, Mrs. Smith.
Right, and they'll determine if they want official or unofficial. You will see if you have not yet applied to a community college, as you go in, I sometimes feel like they're sending you in a circle, but you will get a choice to choose which college you're applying to. And in fact, after applying to one college, you can go in and update your application. So if you're unsure if you want to attend Germanna or Nova or Lord Fairfax, you can actually apply to all three. Now, you probably will get mail from all three, but it does give you the flexibility. You cannot take a class at a community college that you have not applied to. So again, if you're looking ahead and you're trying to decide, certainly as you come closer to make the decision, you want to update that application and have it reflect the community college you're interested in. You actually only have to have 25% of your credits from a community college in order to graduate from that community college. Most of the community college courses are standardized across the community college system, and we in fact have some courses that we share with other community colleges when we don't offer them. So for example, I worked with a student this past year who wanted to take Japanese, and we offer that in conjunction with Northern Virginia Community College. It's actually offered through NOVA, but it comes in as Germanna credit, and it allows you to take that without going outside and doing a second application.
Just to answer the SAT portion of it, yes, your SAT scores do show on your high school transcript as long as we have those scores in our system. So as long as you put down Eastern View as your school, your base school when you took the SAT, if you've taken it multiple times, the highest score of each category is what shows on the transcript. But just one piece to add to the Naviance piece of it, as far as you can add your community college to list in Naviance. We typically do not submit the transcripts to the community colleges, though, however, until the end of the year when we have final transcripts, because majority of times they don't need it until then. So if there's anything specific, a specific reason why you need it submitted prior to final transcripts, just go through your counselor. I would say communicate with your counselor, and we can certainly submit that, but we wouldn't automatically do that like we would for maybe a 4-year school once we see it in Naviance.
Right. Yes, all we look for in terms of the high school transcript is to make sure that you have graduated with either a standard or advanced diploma. We actually then just release what we call a hold. I have permission actually to do that, so it's not quite as important as a 4-year school. If you're using your SAT or ACT scores in place of the grades or the VPT, simply what we do, I actually, if I watch you print off a copy from your account, that's sufficient for us, or what's on the transcript. And that again is for placement purposes. Even though I'm paid by Germanna, I can help you decipher if you're interested in Nova or Piedmont or Lord Fairfax. That's not a problem. I cannot put you in their classes, but I can get you up to that point and tell you the next steps in the process.
We have one more question. This is going to be the last one before the end of the session. But when should we have taken our SAT to have it shown on our transcript if I have not taken it already? If you take your SAT before the end of the year, when the counselors will send your transcripts to Germana, it will show up on your transcript. And just to address, you don't have to take the SAT to go to community college. They can use your GPA and your highest math, like Mr. Johnson said, to place you in a class. So taking the SAT for community college is not required.
Right. And you do not need the SAT or ACT currently if you're doing the guaranteed transfer. If you have questions about whether it might be to your advantage to take the SAT or ACT, then come talk to me, or we'll set up an appointment, a video conference, and I can kind of look at where you're at in terms of grades and what you want to do. And I can tell you whether you would need it for community college or what the advantage would be. Again, regardless of grades, if you graduate from high school, standard or advanced, we are going to accept you into a community college. It just may be some additional coursework if your grades are not where we feel they need to be for you to be successful.
You guys had great questions. Thank you for the few students that did decide to partake this afternoon. Good job.
And this is recorded. So we will be posting this on YouTube, just so everybody can access it. So if you have friends that maybe missed the meeting, just let them know that they can find this on my YouTube channel. So it'll be accessed there. And let us know if you have any further questions. But thank you all so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.